Happy Friday, everyone. You've made it to the weekend, the final weekend here in October, and it sure feels like it. Temperatures right now in the middle to low 50s, upper 40s being reported in Batesville, Hamilton, and Middletown. And let this be a sign of what's to come, which is yet another cold night. Not going to be as cold as what we woke up to this Friday morning, but still cold enough to prompt some frost advisories and freeze warnings. We'll get to that here in just a second. There's some rain on the way. Some of us could see it as soon as Sunday. Most of us, though, going to have to wait until Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Both of those days off and on showers. We'll track that and more coming up in just a few minutes. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Yeah, we've got these frost advisories here in Cincinnati, and also freeze warnings issued for those north and east of Cincinnati. So the blue, or the lighter periwinkle you see there. Frost advisories starting dark and early, 2 a.m. tomorrow and lasting until 9 o'clock in the morning. Reminder that just because the frost advisory does not go past 9 o'clock, it's still going to be cold towards the late morning too, with temps only rising back into the 40s by about lunchtime and then eventually the 50s during the heat of the day. But reminder that we also are tracking colder temperatures northeast of Cincinnati, in which we could very well drop below freezing. Here in Cincinnati, I do want to remind you of what those temperatures looked like this morning to give you a perspective of what tomorrow's kind of going to feel like. Today, we did wake up here in Cincinnati, the CVG, the International Airport, it's at 31 degrees, which means technically in here in Cincinnati, we did get our first freeze of the season. Other areas also who got their first freeze: Batesville, Harrison, Hamilton, Middletown dropped into the 20s this morning, Lebanon, and then we also had Wilmington, Maysville, and Falmouth all at or below freezing. And while we are tracking chilly temperatures tomorrow, I don't think as many of us are going to drop below freezing compared to what we saw this morning. And that's just because we're seeing more clouds today compared to, or this evening compared to yesterday or this morning. More clouds, less of a temperature drop. Long story short. Here's where those temps are right now. Again, mid to low 50s, upper 40s, Hamilton, Batesville, and Middletown. And a quick reminder that the sunset tonight was around 6:46. Give it about 9 days. That sunset's going to be closer to 5:30, and that's because daylight saving time, it ends in 9 days. It ends a week from this Sunday, which means we fall back an hour. Those sunsets bump up an hour, closer to 5:30. So just your first alert on that. Your last full weekend plus work week in which these temperatures, or excuse me, the sunset times are going to be closer to 6:30. Now it's a busy weekend in Cincinnati sports. The UC game, homecoming, it's sold out against Baylor at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Temps that time in the middle 50s, and throughout most of the game it's going to be in the 50s too, but getting later and later into the evening will drop off into the upper 40s. So wear your red and black, of course, but bring a layer or two, especially for the evening, with mostly cloudy skies. Now Sunday for the Bengals game at 1 o'clock against the Jets here at Paycor Stadium. Another afternoon in the 50s, and another afternoon with mostly cloudy skies here in Cincinnati. But those north of Cincinnati, say Butler, Warren, Clinton counties, you guys will see more sun on Sunday. You'll see what I mean here in your 7-day in just a second. But Monday, we're still tracking some light spotty showers getting close to northern Kentucky. This is going to be a system lifting from the south into Cincinnati, and so the heaviest rain is going to steer clear of the tri-state. It's just possible we get some spotty showers kind of clipping downtown Cincinnati as soon as Monday afternoon. So if you have tickets to the FC Cincinnati match against the Columbus Crew Monday evening, just keep in mind that it's going to be a lot chillier in the late afternoon into your evening. Temperatures in the 40s, and if it were to rain, it would be very cold on top of it. No one likes a cold rain, of course. So busy weekend in Cincinnati sports, but those rain chances, while they are bumping up into next week, they don't peak until Tuesday and until Wednesday of next week. So let's show you those rain chances for the next 10 days to give you an idea of what this means for your Halloween, because I know we're all kind of watching it, especially since here in Cincinnati and the Ohio Valley, The trick-or-treat forecast can be quite literally everything. It really just depends on the year. And good news is, if you've been checking on this forecast, it's still trending dry. Again, the heaviest rain is going to be moving through next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, both sit at about a 50% chance, and that's because there's still plenty of time for the storm track to change. If we see the center of the storm getting closer to Cincinnati, that would increase the rain chances for Tuesday and for Wednesday. If it were to stay farther away from Cincinnati, it would mean less of a rain chance for us here as well. Now, as we step into your later week, into your next work week, I should say, we're holding on to some rain chances early Thursday, but then as that low, the center of the storm, makes its exit east, it does leave behind cooler temps. And so Halloween, while it is trending dry, it is also trending quite cool as well. Let's take a look here at your weather timeline, unpack these rain chances for you guys. We're going to jump straight to Sunday. I mean, look at this tiny little chance. It's about a 20% chance. And look, it's so light, it hardly even presents itself on the weather timeline. There is a greater chance, I should say, that you don't see any rain at all for Sunday, especially north of Cincinnati. Look, north of Cincinnati, sun, south of Cincinnati, clouds. And that'll continue for your Sunday afternoon and into your evening. And then let's zoom out and talk about next week's setup, because I like to describe this as kind of a weather battleground in which we've got two cores. One of high pressure, the blue H you see there, and one of low pressure, the red L that you see over there. They're going to kind of, for lack of a better term, contend with one another, and they're going to kind of battle each other. Again, it's not really how it works, but it's just trying to describe it here, because that high pressure is going to try to block the low pressure and keep it away from it. And so what you're going to notice, depending on how strong that high pressure is, we could see things dry a lot in this forecast. But that depends if the high pressure is able to kind of stand its ground. But this model is saying, hey, high pressure kind of loses this battle as we step into late Monday. We see clouds increasing throughout the morning and into the day. There's that very small chance getting close to Cincinnati later Monday evening. But high pressure, as it really lifts north and away from us here in the tri-state, then we're starting to see low pressure dominate. We're going to notice cloudy, cooler conditions. It's going to be breezy too with any showers that we see, and those heavier showers will move through later in the day on Tuesday, continuing overnight into your Wednesday, off and on through Wednesday. And as all that rain kind of swirls around that low, depending on how quickly we get the low out of here, we could be seeing off and on showers for days. And I'm seeing mainly the heaviest rain on Tuesday, Wednesday, but I mean, obviously there's still chance for rain there on Thursday too. So it's one of those forecasts in which it really depends on the track of this storm. Because once again, if we were to see, let me back it up. If we were to see this center of the storm even 50 miles south from where it's forecast to be right now, that would of course really tank our rain chances stepping into next week. We'll still be cooler because we're on the northern side of this storm, but we'll at least look at a drier trend. But once again, all dependent on that storm track. We'll let you know if that changes here at Fox 19. Of course, we're going to be watching it very carefully. The good news about the track and where it stands right now is that it does leave the tri-state by Thursday afternoon. At least the rain chances leave the tri-state by the afternoon. But this does mean that temperatures are going to be cooler behind it. And you'll see it here in that 7-day forecast for you guys, how cool it's going to be getting for Halloween and how cool it's going to be in the days after as well. So the warmest days out of the 7-day forecast they are this weekend, even Monday of next week too. So 58 Saturday after a morning low in the mid-30s. Again, frost advisories and freeze warnings in effect for the tri-state for Saturday morning. The afternoon, mostly cloudy, staying nice and dry. Sunday, most of us staying nice and dry. Those south of Cincinnati and northern Kentucky could see a fairly light shower, and that is it in the morning. 60. And notice, You see a little bit more sun on the 7-day for Sunday, and that's because clouds are going to be south of Cincinnati. Sun is going to be north. There's going to be a pretty stark divide between the sunny skies and the cloudy skies. And eventually the cloudy skies do take over, and that's going to happen Monday, bringing in the rain chances later in that forecast, and then really pumping in the rain for Tuesday and for Wednesday of next week. Both of those days are looking very rainy. Off and on though. Again, the chance for rain is really dependent on that center of the storm and how close it gets to us here in the tri-state. So Thursday, rain possible in the morning as the low makes its exit. It leaves behind cooler temperatures in the middle 50s. And your Halloween forecast. It's cloudy. It is cooler. We can't quite rule out a rain chance with this one, but it only stands at about a 10% because the weekend after, that first weekend of November, so that's Saturday and Sunday of next week, that's looking drier and drier too. So if we were to see the storms, or excuse me, the showers, I'm not tracking thunderstorms for next week. If we were to see that delay, that would of course affect your Halloween forecast and we might see some rain. If there's any change in the track, if there's any change in the timing, you guys will be the first to know as we get closer to Halloween. That's when we see things start to dry out though. That's the good news, and it's holding in this forecast for you guys. And yeah, there's that icon, the fallback icon. That's on Sunday of next week, November 2nd. We will fall back an hour, which means those sunsets will be an hour earlier. Temperatures for that first weekend in November in the middle 50s, and chilly mornings in the 30s too. All right, let's talk about the weather, guys. Scott is tuning in. Good evening, Erin. Hello, Scott. You also have a question. Wasn't it just in the 80s 2 weeks ago? Typical Cincinnati weather. It was actually in the 80s less than a week ago. On Saturday, we hit 82 here in Cincinnati, and yeah, we saw the frost Thursday morning, and we saw the freeze this morning, Scott. So typical Cincinnati. It's a typical week here in the tri-state. Thanks for tuning in as always. And JD's tuning in. How are you doing today? What is the weather for Canton tomorrow morning? They are also seeing chilly temperatures, maybe a little bit more sun than us compared to us here in Cincinnati as high pressure nestles itself north. But thanks for tuning in, JD. I'm doing well, and I hope you are too. And Rhiannon's tuning in. 2 times the leggings. I'm glad I'm not the only person who does this, especially since for work I wear a lot of dresses, Rhiannon, and so I will wear not only leggings, but sometimes I'll layer the sweatpants on top of it if I'm reporting in the field. And I usually reserve that setup for when it's like 20 degrees with wind chills below 0. So I'm not quite to 2 times the legging territory quite yet, but I know it's cold, and I know it's kind of a shock to the system. We haven't seen air like this since April, but it's going to be the new normal, especially as we get closer to November, which starts a week from tomorrow. All right, that's all the questions and all the comments I have coming in this Friday evening. I appreciate you all tuning on in, getting ahead of the forecast for the weekend ahead and for the rain chances next week. Of course, if anything changes about the timing and the impact to your plans, you guys will be the first to know. But for now, signing off here in Queensgate, I'm meteorologist Erin Ashley. Have a great weekend.